Do you believe that many cooking tips that sound strange now were once the golden secrets of mid-20th century housewives? For example, using pasta water to thicken sauce, spreading mayonnaise on fish to retain moisture, or using cornstarch to filter old frying oil. These are all smart tricks that we are eager to bring back. Today, let's explore more than 35 smart cooking tips that she used, but many people now do not know. Since the 1950s, grandmothers had a natural and economical trick to turn tough cuts of meat into tender morsels without the need for sophisticated chemicals or lengthy cooking techniques. It all resided in the familiar bottle of cooking vinegar sitting prominently in the corner of her kitchen. She simply dropped the tough cut of meat, usually cheap beef or shoulder cuts, into a bowl of diluted vinegar, typically apple cider or white vinegar. The ratio is 1:3. 1 part apple cider vinegar or white vinegar, 3 parts water. Soak for 20 to 45 minutes depending on the thickness. Then rinse quickly under running water to reduce the sour taste. The acidity in the vinegar would relax the muscle fibers and connective tissues, naturally tenderizing the meat without begging or threatening the pot. This marinating step also significantly shortened the cooking time, while opening the door for the meat to absorb the salt, pepper, and dried herbs she used, making the flavor sink deep as if by magic. Now, we have all sorts of tenderizing powders or specialized injectors, but grandmas used vinegar subtly, softening the meat just enough without ruining the flavor. That distinctive slight sourness once defined the soul of a family roast, but it has now almost disappeared. By the 60s and 70s, as Americans began to love pasta, housewives realized that pasta water was a culinary treasure. With a mindset of maximum thrift, they never threw away that cloudy, starch-rich liquid. Instead, they would use it to thicken tomato or carbonara sauces. Just scoop a spoonful or a cup of this water into the sauce towards the end of the cooking process. The starch in the pasta water acts as a natural thickening agent, creating the desired smooth consistency without altering the main flavor of the dish. Moreover, this water already contains salt, which enhances the salinity and overall flavor, creating an emulsification that helps the sauce cling evenly to every strand of pasta, making the dish much more appealing. This is a small tip that demonstrates the resourcefulness of Grandma's generation, transforming a byproduct into a valuable cooking ingredient. In modern society, many rely on convenient canned sauces and forget that pasta water was Grandma's secret weapon for creating natural richness in Italian dishes, a simple technique that delivers results in both texture and flavor. How did the grilled burger patties in their kitchen always stay juicy and avoid becoming dry and tough, even when cooked on a charcoal grill or outdoor grate? The trick is to use an ice cube. You'll get what you want. Specifically, after mixing the ground beef with simple seasonings like salt and pepper, Grandma would place a small ice cube right in the center of the forming patty. Then, she gently molded the meat around the ice cube so it was completely enclosed before placing it on the grill or cast iron pan. The ice cube melts during grilling, releasing moisture deep inside the meat, preventing the meat from drying out and keeping the burger soft and moist from the inside out. The result is a consistently juicy patty without needing complex fillers like bread soaked in milk. Burgers today are often pre-pressed or cooked quickly, lacking this care. Grandma's ice cube moisture trick, though effective enough for a restaurant, is rarely mentioned anymore, but it reflects the intelligence in using temperature and moisture to optimize cooking results. To achieve golden, crispy, roasted chicken skin without sophisticated drying equipment or complicated techniques, 1950s housewives used a simple chemical trick with a familiar baking ingredient: baking powder. Grandma mixed a small amount of baking powder with salt and common seasonings like pepper and garlic powder. She then rubbed this dry mixture evenly over the entire surface of the chicken skin, ensuring it was covered with a thin, uniform layer. The baking soda in the baking powder absorbs excess moisture on the skin, creating the dry environment necessary for crisping. When cooked at high heat, it reacts to create small air bubbles on the skin, helping the skin puff up and become shatteringly crisp. This trick achieves the perfect balance between juicy meat inside and a crispy crust outside, a result that even professional chefs would admire. This method was once a secret passed down by grandmothers until the arrival of air fryers and panko crumbs, which caused this trick to gradually be forgotten, yet its effectiveness remains intact. Many people are hesitant to grill or bake fish because they fear it will dry out or stick to the cast iron grill of old-time kitchens. But for Grandma's generation in the 60s, baked fish was always moist and had a beautiful golden crust, never sticking or losing its inherent freshness. The simple secret lay in the familiar jar of mayonnaise. Instead of using easily burned butter or quick evaporating olive oil, Grandma spread a thin, even layer of mayonnaise onto the fish fillet. Mayonnaise, rich in fat and eggs, created a perfect anti-drying barrier, preventing the fish's natural moisture from escaping in the oven. The coating also protected the surface of the fish from searing and helped it achieve a beautiful golden color with a slightly crispy outer layer. The interesting thing is that after baking, the mayonnaise flavor disappears, leaving only a piece of fish that is soft as butter inside. The mayonnaise trick is still considered a classic secret with hard-to-replace results, demonstrating the resourcefulness of housewives in transforming a condiment into a cooking tool. With the zero-waste mentality of the 50s to 70s generation, leftovers weren't meant to be thrown away, but were an opportunity for a new creative meal. Leftover mashed potatoes from Sunday dinner were a perfect example. Cooled mashed potatoes were mixed with flour, eggs, and often leftover sautéed onions or cheese, forming a thick mixture. This mixture was shaped into small, flat rounds and quickly fried in a little bacon grease or carefully stored butter. High heat created a shatteringly crisp crust with the savory flavor of bacon fat, while the potato filling inside retained its softness and creaminess. These potato pancakes were usually served hot, either as a side dish or a quick breakfast, demonstrating the ingenuity in recycling and maximizing the value of every ingredient. This was not just a simple light meal, but also a lesson in thrift and creativity in the kitchen, a spirit that the grandmother's generation passed down. Long before vacuum packaging or modern Ziploc bags in the 1950s, people discovered a smart way to protect cheese from drying out and molding, preserving its fresh flavor using only butter. This method required the cook to wrap the cheese block with a thick layer of butter. This butter layer, rich in fat, created an airtight seal, retaining moisture inside the cheese block and preventing oxygen infiltration, which causes cracking and mold. This simple trick was not only practical, but also ensured no cheese was wasted. The butter layer could be easily scraped off before eating or even used for frying or cooking. Although today we rely on plastic wrap and airtight containers, this old method is making a comeback among those looking for more natural and sustainable food preservation solutions. This ingenuity is a testament to the intelligence of Grandma's generation in extending the lifespan of precious ingredients. If these stories remind you of the smell of an old kitchen and the cleverness of the previous generation, hit the hype button below the video to spread the love for these warm and subtle memories of Grandma's kitchen. Keeping eggs fresh was a major challenge in old-time kitchens before refrigerators became common and stable. Even with a refrigerator, how did one know if an egg in the fridge was still good without breaking it? The water test is a classic yet reliable trick passed down through generations of grandmothers. The method is very simple. Place the egg in a bowl or glass of cold water. This method works based on the basic scientific principle that eggshells are porous, allowing air to seep in over time. Fresh eggs will sink and lie flat on the bottom, as they contain very little gas. Slightly old eggs will stand upright but still touch the bottom, because air has entered but not excessively. If the egg floats completely, it means air has replaced a large amount of the liquid inside, which is a clear sign that it has spoiled and should be discarded. This is a quick and practical test, saving countless meals from the risk of spoilage, and is a wonderful example of inherited kitchen knowledge from grandmothers that we can try applying today. If there is one ingredient that symbolizes the ultimate thrift and rich flavor of the 1950s to 70s kitchen, it is bacon grease. During economic times, grandmothers never wasted anything, especially this flavorful source of fat. After frying bacon, the grease was carefully strained through a fine mesh sieve to remove residue, then stored in a tin jar. Grandma used it to replace butter or regular cooking oil in many dishes. Bacon grease has a distinctive smoky, rich flavor. When used to sauté green beans, simmer collard greens, or bake cornbread, the dish instantly acquires an extra layer of savory, irresistible richness. This was an economical source of fat and key to creating hearty meals, making children who usually dislike vegetables happily eat green beans braised with bacon grease. Today, we often use olive oil or butter. Bacon grease is considered unhealthy, but for the previous generation, it was the soul of flavor. Beans were an important source of protein, especially during hard economic times, but they often required very long cooking times. Soaking the beans overnight was already a mandatory step. But clever housewives knew how to use baking soda to shorten the cooking time and make the beans even softer. Grandma would add about 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to the water used to boil dry beans. Then she let the beans simmer until soft, which was often significantly faster than using just water. The alkalinity of baking soda helps to break down the tough outer skin of the beans, allowing them to cook faster and achieve a creamier, smoother texture, which is crucial for stews or thick soups. This significantly saves cooking time and fuel, creating a perfect soft finish. This trick is a testament to the natural scientific understanding of Grandma's generation, turning a basic ingredient into an effective solution, helping dinner get prepared more quickly. Whipped cream was a more luxurious dessert in the 50s to 70s, and whipping cream had to be successful on the first try. To achieve perfectly whipped, light, and structured cream, one needed not only physical strength, but also a smart chilling strategy. Try placing the mixing bowl, usually glass or metal, and the whisk beaters in the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes before use. Then, pour the cold cream in and whip until the cream forms soft, fluffy peaks. The coldness of the bowl helps the cream whip faster and maintain structure by keeping the fat in the cream cold. If the cream warms up, the fat melts and the cream will be difficult to shape or will turn runny. If she wanted to add flavor, Grandma might add a splash of vanilla extract or a pinch of sugar while whipping. This trick ensured a light, airy topping for favorite desserts, a basic principle that pastry chefs still apply today, demonstrating the meticulousness of the housewives. Matzah balls are a traditional dumpling, but to ensure they weren't dense and heavy, but instead became light and fluffy, grandmothers used a secret that seemed unrelated to traditional cuisine: seltzer water. The dishes of Grandma's generation always had a subtlety in texture. She replaced a portion of the regular water with seltzer water in the matzah dough recipe. After shaping, the matzah balls were allowed to rest in the refrigerator before being cooked in the soup. The carbonation in the water adds air bubbles to the dough, helping it rise and creating a softer, airier texture for the matzah balls or other types of dumplings. This technique yields a perfectly soft, airy result for any soup. Making matzah balls lighter made the eater feel more comfortable, suitable for traditional soup. This trick can also be applied to other types of dumplings or pancakes, proving the creativity of grandmothers in utilizing the chemical properties of ingredients to improve food quality. How did they extend the lifespan of oil while maintaining its quality for reuse, an important economic consideration in old-time kitchens, especially when deep frying large amounts of oil get dirty from food scraps? Grandma used cornstarch. First, stir a tablespoon of cornstarch into the cooled oil, then gently heat this mixture for about 10 minutes. During gentle heating, the cornstarch absorbs burned food particles and other impurities left in the oil. Finally, strain the oil through a fine mesh sieve or cheesecloth. This method helps the oil stay fresher for reuse, reduces waste, and ensures the flavor of the next frying session is not affected by burnt residue from the previous one. After cleaning, the oil was stored in an airtight container in a cool, dark place to maintain quality for the next cooking session. This is a great tip demonstrating resourcefulness in managing kitchen resources. Boiling water spilling over the pot is an annoying problem, creating unnecessary cleanup in a busy kitchen. To avoid this, whenever boiling pasta, besides the wooden spoon trick, Grandma had another way to prevent pasta or potato water from boiling over. When the water started boiling vigorously, she would add a little regular cooking oil to the water. Oil being lighter than water, floats on the surface and forms a thin film. This layer of oil interrupts the air bubbles that form as the water heats up, reducing the chance of water boiling over. This saves time monitoring the pot and keeps the stove cleaner, a crucial efficiency factor. The oil also helps prevent the pasta from sticking together after boiling. This trick is simple yet effective, combining convenience with culinary benefit. It shows the subtlety of housewives in solving small, everyday problems practically and creatively. The grilled cheese sandwich is a classic, familiar dish in the 1970s, but to achieve a perfectly crisp and richer crust than when using butter, Grandma used mayonnaise. She spread a thin layer of mayonnaise on the outside of the bread before grilling. The high oil content of mayo creates a crispier, more evenly golden crust, giving the sandwich a more beautiful caramelized color than butter, which has a higher water content. Furthermore, butter often has a low smoke point and burns easily, while mayonnaise is more stable, leading to an evenly golden crust without scorching. The result is a sandwich with a richer, crispier exterior. This was a clever substitute, demonstrating Grandma's ingenuity in leveraging a common ingredient to improve texture and flavor, especially effective when you want a surprising hint of creaminess and mild tanginess for the classic grilled cheese. The fishy smell of seafood is often a barrier that makes many people hesitate to cook fresh fish or fish that has been stored for a bit longer. Housewives had a subtle trick to neutralize this unpleasant odor by using a simple, readily available ingredient: fresh milk. They would place the fish in a shallow dish, pour fresh milk over it to cover, and soak for about 20 to 30 minutes. Afterward, the fish was rinsed under cold, running water before cooking. This method works because the proteins in the milk, specifically casein, will bind to the odor-causing compounds like trimethylamine oxide, neutralizing the pungent fishy smell. This trick not only deodorizes, but also slightly tenderizes the fish, resulting in a fresher and cleaner tasting meal. This is a natural, effective solution without resorting to chemicals or harsh lemon vinegar, which might alter the fish's delicate texture. This tip helps fish stay delicious, even if it wasn't caught that day, demonstrating the resourcefulness of Grandma's generation. How did they cook a pot of white rice that was fluffy and not clumpy without the need for the modern rice cookers of the 70s? Try using a little acid from a lemon, as this was Grandma's secret trick back then. She simply added about a teaspoon of lemon juice to the cooking water before it reached a boil. Then she cooked the rice as usual, covered tightly. The acidity of the lemon juice helps break down the starch in the rice, preventing the grains from sticking tightly together, making the rice fluffier. Everyone recognized that cooking rice in a pot on the stove was often trickier to manage water levels and temperature, leading to mushy or sticky rice. Therefore, lemon not only improved texture, but also added a subtle freshness to the rice, a solid foundation for a family meal. This is a small but effective tip, ensuring the quality of the dish even when using only rudimentary cooking tools. It shows the meticulousness of housewives in caring for the most basic dish. To achieve scrambled eggs that were softer, fluffier, and richer than usual, 1950s to 70s, housewives would add a hint of acidity from citrus fruit, such as orange. Grandmas and moms would beat a tablespoon of orange juice for every 2 eggs, along with a pinch of salt and pepper, until thoroughly combined. Then, she cooked the eggs at moderate heat, stirring gently. The natural acidity in the orange juice helps break down the protein in the eggs even before cooking, creating a softer and fluffier texture. The slight tanginess of the orange also freshens the flavor, creating a subtle surprise that complements the creamy, rich texture of the eggs, helping balance the richness of the butter or fat used for frying. This is a small trick demonstrating the intelligence of the woman in the kitchen, knowing how to combine seemingly unrelated ingredients to enhance the quality of the dish. Mothers love this simple trick to turn an everyday breakfast into something special. Chili, meat, and bean stew is often very rich, creamy, and sometimes heavy, due to being cooked with ground meat and fat. To balance the flavor and make the dish fresher, grandmothers added a slightly sour but deep ingredient: apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar was usually readily available in old-time kitchens. She simply added a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar to the stew near the end of the cooking process. She stirred gently to blend the flavors. The acidity of the vinegar freshens the dish, cutting through the richness of the other ingredients, meat, beans, tomatoes, and enhancing the overall depth of flavor. This small addition makes the chili more well-rounded and vibrant, avoiding a feeling of saturation. This is a small but effective tip, helping balance the flavor without making the dish overly sour, but rather adding a more complex flavor layer. Traditional cornbread is a simple, economical dish, but sometimes it easily becomes dry and crumbly if not cooked properly. To ensure the cake was always moist and rich, like those baked in old-time kitchens, housewives turned to sour cream. Sour cream was used to replace a portion of the liquid in the recipe, about half a cup for every 2 cups of flour. She stirred gently to avoid overmixing, as excessive mixing would cause the flour to develop too much gluten and make the cake tough. The creamy texture and slight tanginess of the sour cream complement the sweetness of the cornbread, helping the cake retain moisture, stay soft, and prevent dryness. Cornbread made this way is softer, richer, and stays fresh longer, an economic advantage that reduces waste. This is a great example of how housewives used readily available dairy ingredients to improve the texture of traditional baked goods. Love this video? Show some love with a like and a subscribe. Hate it? A like would still be awesome, and your feedback in the comments will help me improve. Have you ever wondered how to get perfectly poached eggs with firm whites that don't dissolve in the water without a metal-shaping ring? Grandma would surely recommend using vinegar. The simple method is to bring a pot of water to a gentle simmer, then add a tablespoon of vinegar for every liter of water. Afterward, she cracked the egg into a small bowl and gently slid the egg into the lightly swirling vinegared water. Cook for about 3 to 4 minutes for a soft yolk. The acidity in the vinegar helps the egg whites coagulate faster, keeping the egg intact and beautifully shaped, forming a round, firm mass. This method creates visually appealing poached eggs perfect for breakfast and demonstrates the intelligence in using chemistry to control the cooking process. This technique has been passed down through generations and is still trusted by professional chefs. Just like you, mushy rice happened even to the best cooks in 1950s kitchens. But instead of throwing it away or trying to mix it, Grandma would place a slice of white bread on top of the rice in the pot, cover it, and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes. White bread has a very porous structure, acting as an extremely effective moisture-absorbing sponge, drawing out excess steam. The starch in the bread also enhances this absorption capability. Afterward, she simply removed the slice of bread and gently fluffed the rice. The rice would be significantly fluffier. This trick saved mushy rice quickly and effectively, demonstrating the resourcefulness of housewives in solving everyday kitchen problems. Peeling hot-boiled potatoes is a time-consuming and hand-scalding task, especially when preparing a large amount for mashed potatoes. To make this step less arduous, housewives, right after the potatoes were boiled, would transfer them directly into a bowl of ice water and soak for about 10 seconds. Upon removal, a gentle rub with the hand made the potato skin slide right off in a quick motion. The sudden temperature change caused the potato skin to loosen and separate from the flesh due to uneven contraction of the layers. This trick saves time, especially when preparing large batches, and keeps the cook's hands safe and comfortable. Today, this technique is still widely used, one of the simplest yet most effective kitchen tips, demonstrating the practical intelligence of Grandma's generation. In the 1950s, the pride of any grandmother was a crispy, flaky, non-tough pie crust. Her scientific secret was keeping the ingredients extremely cold during the mixing process. When mixing pie dough, usually cold butter, flour, salt, the baker would replace some of the regular water with ice water containing ice cubes. The cold water was added slowly, 1 spoonful at a time, and mixed quickly. The cold temperature prevents the butter from melting too soon into the flour. During baking, the cold butter pieces melt and turn into steam, creating alternating layers of fat, forming a perfect soft, flaky, and crispy texture. This kitchen chemistry trick helps the crust achieve flakiness without excessive mixing. This method demonstrates the deep understanding of baking principles held by housewives of the 1950s. In the era before refrigerators became commonplace, or in rural areas in the 1950s, keeping fresh milk from souring was a major challenge. Similar to the trick of using baking soda for beans, Grandma also used a more economical ingredient, salt, to extend the shelf life of milk. She added a small pinch of salt to the container of fresh milk and gently shook it to mix evenly. Salt, a natural preservative, can inhibit the growth of bacteria, extending the shelf life of the milk by a few days, especially useful when the milk needed to last until the next grocery trip. Salt does not affect the flavor of the milk if used in a very small amount. This is a small tip, but demonstrates the deep concern for thrift and resource management of Grandma's generation. For many dishes requiring ginger juice, grating and squeezing fresh ginger can be a bit difficult due to its fibrous nature. If you've ever felt that way, try applying Grandma's ginger freezing method to solve this problem. First, ginger is peeled and frozen in an airtight container. Then, when needed, grate the frozen ginger using a fine grater. Then squeeze the grated pulp to extract the juice. The freezing process helps break down the ginger fibers, making the ginger structure more brittle, allowing more juice to be extracted with less effort. This method not only maximizes the amount of juice, but also significantly extends the shelf life of ginger. It also shows the subtlety in ingredient preparation, helping housewives save time and effort in the kitchen. Vegetables like zucchini, eggplant, or cucumber often release a lot of water when cooked, causing stir-fries or roasted dishes to become mushy, affecting the texture of the meal. To minimize this problem every time they cooked, housewives used the pre-salting method to concentrate flavor and improve texture. Sprinkle a pinch of salt on the sliced vegetables and let them sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Afterward, Grandma patted the vegetables dry with a clean paper towel before cooking. The salt draws out the excess moisture from the vegetables through osmosis. This simple step helps concentrate the flavor of the vegetables and ensures a crispier, firmer result when stir-frying or roasting, avoiding the vegetables becoming soggy. This is a simple but important preparation step, often overlooked in today's hurried kitchens, and is a testament to the resourcefulness of the grandmothers. As early as the 1950s, the zero-waste ideology of the previous generation was clearly demonstrated by turning even vegetable peels into an attractive snack. Instead of discarding carrot, potato, or parsnip peels, Grandma would wash them thoroughly, then toss them with olive oil and seasoning. She spread them on a baking sheet and roasted them at moderate heat, about 190 degrees Celsius, for about 10 to 15 minutes until crispy. This was a crunchy, flavorful snack. This trick is a testament to how housewives minimized kitchen waste and transformed discarded parts into valuable, cost-effective, yet nutritious meals. This is an eco-friendly and economical method aligned with today's green living trends. This trick not only provided the family with extra snacks, but also demonstrated Grandma's intelligence in maximizing the use of every ingredient. Grandma's cream sauces always had a velvety texture and irresistible richness. The secret was not just long cooking, but also how she finished the sauce, a technique known as monter au beurre in French cuisine, but applied simply in old-time kitchens. She would cut cold butter into small pieces and slowly whisk each piece into the gently simmering sauce. The melting butter created a smooth emulsion, enhancing the richness, fat content, and velvety texture of the sauce. This slow addition method prevents the sauce from separating, ensuring perfect smoothness. This technique elevated simple tomato, cream, or pan sauces to a new level, delivering superb flavor quality. The journey to explore 35 smart cooking tricks that only our grandmothers from the 50s to the 70s knew has shown one thing. The ingenuity of the past did not come from expensive tools, but from life experience and boundless creativity. If you have also relearned some small but mighty secrets, remember to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss out on warm old kitchen stories. And don't leave yet. Continue watching 25 Cheap Meals Our Grandparents Ate to Survive, where you will encounter strange but extremely clever secrets like using egg boiling water to make soup, airing out old bread on the stove to resurrect it, or mixing flour with well salt water to enhance flavor, tricks that sound odd but fed an entire generation through tough times.